Hey guys, Little Baryonyx here. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the lost world that we never saw. So, let's start off plain and simple and go over some cut scenes from the Jurassic Park The Lost World. We are not going to be doing novel differences in this video. Well, I'll recap novel differences, but novel differences is kind of for another video, you know? This is about stuff that was changed in the movies, not the books. So yeah, we are going to start with this InGen boardroom meeting that was supposed to happen directly after the little girl gets attacked by the compies on the island. And this is, I guess, InGen trying to cover up the incident. And they're having a boardroom meeting. You can see a lot of executives or like people in suits with Peter Ludlow standing at top. And then after this, we would get another scene, but with Roland Tembo instead. So here we can see Ronald Tembo and AJ. I do not remember his second name, but we have AJ and Ronald here speaking, and this is where AJ is telling Ronald that he's going on to an island, and I guess he's asking for help. And this is also a scene where a bar fight would take place, and like you can watch the scene literally on YouTube. I'm not going to put it in because it's copyrighted, but like there's a bar fight that takes place. Ronald Tembo gets mocked for being an old man or whatever, and then a fight takes place, and I understand why this was cut, as it really strengthens the character of Ronald Tembo. But next we have an alternate opening for The Lost World. This would have replaced, I guess, the little girl being attacked by compies. An alternate opening to The Lost World Jurassic Park was for a Japanese fishing boat to pull up a Parasaurolophus carcass in its net, to which the net breaks from the weight of the carcass and disappears into the waters below. The sculpture was made, but in the end the scene was scrapped, and the carcass would later be used with the T-Rex in the film Jurassic Park 3, which was used to represent a Triceratops, I do believe. Next up we have another cut scene, which is the Gathers Organize. In the film, the audience is left to assume that the Gatherer team, Nick, Eddie, Ian, and stowaway Kelly, just dropped their trailers and took off to find Sarah. In a deleted scene, the team looks through their gadgets, and Eddie briefly explains how everything works to track down Sarah and avoid animal attacks. And we do actually have another image of this where we can see Eddie Carr going through some equipment. We can see the Ford Explorers, I think they are. Oh no, the Mercedes-Benz. And then on the right we have obviously the trailer that falls off. But it's cool to get like another scene with the trailer in the daytime instead of the bit where they see the InGen people and then when it falls off. Next up we have AJ and Ronald going to the T-Rex nest. There was supposed to have a scene where AJ Sidhu, I believe I'm saying that correctly, and Ronald Tempo follow the tracks to the Tyrannosaurus nest. Then we do have another scene with Peter Ludlow involved. This one's quite a well-known one, but it is called The Ludlow in Just the Baby. There was a scene David Koepp was sad to see go. The reason that being this scene gave more depth to the characters are Ronald Tembo and Peter Ludlow. Both men in this scene would have basically exchanged bits of their own varied lives and philosophies with each other. Ludlow was particularly adamant in the fact of wanting the infant for Jurassic Park San Diego. Unfortunately, during this scene, Ludlow, while intoxicated, hears another animal scamper in the underbush and trips and falls on the infant Tyrannosaurus's leg, breaking it. It is unknown if the scene was finished, as all we have are two stills. However, it is possible that this scene was finished. This is another scene that I'm really sad to go. I don't understand why this was cut. Maybe due to pacing reasons, but like we just have the Tyrannosaur with a broken leg, and they just tie I believe AJ and Ronald just tie it up, and it's never shown how the leg is broken. I think this could have been so good, but why'd they cut it? But yeah, we also have an image here of how this scene would have played out. We have kind of Ronald looking over Peter, kind of like mocking him, I guess, and then Peter's just on the ground whilst holding a bottle of apple juice. Next up is the hide attack. So remember the hide? Well, I guess the hide was originally meant to have been attacked. A cut sequence that some fans have misremembered to have made it into the trailer for the film was a sequence where the Tyrannosaurus parents inspect Eddie Carr's hide, a bit too close for comfort after they retrieve their infant. What is likely being remembered is this sequence in the storyboard format as seen to the left that appears in the Making of the Lost World Jurassic Park book. Unlike some scenes, I do understand why this was cut. Like, it doesn't really make a difference to the plot, except maybe strengthening the characters. But we can see the hide is, like, approached by the Tyrannosaurs. They push it forward, and then, like, the T-Rex tries to bite at it. I'm guessing it would just knock at it and then go over to the trailers. Next up, we have an extended AJ scene. I don't understand why this one was cut again, because he kind of just disappears. It's the same as what happened with Iris from Fallen Kingdom. He's there 1 minute and then he just disappears and is forgotten about. But this would have showed how he would have died. 142 in a jungle clearing. The routed hunters emerge from the ravine ahead of them. There's one large open plain covered by long elephant grass. AJ, running with them, stops abruptly at the edge of the grass, shouting to the others, "AJ, no, don't go into the long grass." But in the frenzy, they ignore him. AJ, torn between a sense of responsibility and his better judgment, opts for the former races into the grass, after the other hunters waving his arms, further in the grass. The group of hunters wades into the middle of the long grass. One of them stops and turns, looking back at the jungle trees. The Rex is nowhere to be seen. "Hunter, they gave up. They're not chasing us." In the distance, AJ's voice can be heard. And then obviously the raptors appear and start attacking all the hunters. Like now, this raptor snarls and slams into the body of the hunter, taking him down. A feeding frenzy ensues. The hunters run in all directions, but are pulled down and vanish into the twitching long grass. Another raptor enters from the right, leaps high into the air past the full moon, slams onto the chest of more human prey, and takes him down into the grass. Behind them, AJ's face falls, defeated. He looks around, realizing he is now too stranded in the middle of the long grass. Around him, four torpedo tails head straight for him. He simply closes his eyes. This would have also worked as an extended long grass scene, and we do have one still image of how this could have played out. This is a tiger stripe raptor with blood all on its mouth, so we would have got more of a bloody and gory scene, I guess. Maybe one of the hunters turned, because this does seem quite bright, this image, and it was in a dark setting, so maybe one of the hunters turned and the flashlight went onto this raptor and they just saw blood all in its mouth. Oh god. But this does bring me straight to the next cut scene. This scene would have come directly after the long grass scene. So, extended raptor and Pteranodon scene. This is a scene where the hunting in the long grass was extended. It involves the remaining hunters running off cliffs away from the velociraptors in hang gliders, and they were attacked by pteranodons. AJ was supposed to be ripped out to shreds by a pteranodon, a sight so gruesome that Sarah had to look away, although she already looked away when Robert Berkey was killed. There is another scene including the pteranodons attacking the helicopter. We do actually have a still image of how this would have played out, with pteranodons sweeping by and just ripping hunters apart. This would have been absolutely horrendous. Oh my god. I know why they cut this, because of obviously age ratings and everything. I legitimately think the Lost World is like a 12 or something. This would have booted it straight up to a 16. Imagine that, them all getting ripped apart. And then finally, some alternate endings. There were at least 3 different endings in the second film to choose from. One such was Ian and Sarah overseeing the Rex return to Isla Sorna. Another scene saw a climactic battle similar to what inspired the first film, only between the velociraptors and the pteranodons instead. The San Diego incident was ultimately chosen, but instead of Ian and Sarah overseeing the Rex's transition back, they watched from their apartment with Kelly. Another scene would have been Hammond's funeral, where Malcolm delivers a eulogy, I believe I'm saying that correctly. The dinosaurs remain undiscovered by the general public. Now, some of these are very interesting, like a velociraptors versus pteranodons would have been absolutely epic to see, but the one I think I would enjoy the most is Hammond's funeral, as not only would this affect Jurassic Park 2, but this would have gone on to affect Jurassic Park 3. It's so weird how a slight change could affect something so large. Like, if Hammond's funeral was chosen, that means the dinosaurs were undiscovered by the public, meaning Alan wouldn't have to talk about his sauna and probably wouldn't know about it, unless Ian directly told him. So I hope you enjoyed some of these cutscenes as much as I did. But now we're going to move on to some scrapped and cut dinosaurs from The Lost World. I'm going to try and do this as quickly as I can, because I know you guys got other things to do. I don't want to keep you here all day. Momenchiosaurus. According to the Lost World script, the Momenchiosaurus was to be included in the Stegosaurus scene. Apparently the Momenchiosaurs haven't been in the process of mating. Once the Stegosaurs start attacking the group, the characters run towards the Momenchiosaurus to escape from them. This scene, however, was scrapped before filming even began. However, in both the theatrical release, Momenchiosaurus are present in a scene in which stampeding dinosaurs are being chased by the hunters on motorcycles. One hunter rides between the huge legs of a Momenchiosaurus. And yeah, we do see Momenchiosaurus, but that one scene is the only time we've ever seen Momenchiosaurus in the entire franchise. So, but I do understand why this was cut. It is a bit goofy, them running from kaiju-sized Stegosauruses and just hiding under legs, like when the Momenchiosaurs just like kick them or step on them. So I do understand why this was cut. Next up, Geostaburgia. Geostaburgia is seen on Ronald's Dinosaur Guide, the trailer screensaver, and several drawings and models made for the film. However, the animal itself is never physically seen in any of the film. It has been suggested that the intended use for the species was to be the male sexually dimorphic version of the P. longiceps species seen at the very end of the Lost World Jurassic Park, which is obviously referencing this thing, where many people thought this scene was Geostaburgia, but it is in fact a Pteranodon variant that we see in the Lost World. It would have been cool to see Geostaburgia, but I can understand why this was cut. They don't want too many dinosaurs in here, pacing issues. If they were originally going with the Pteranodon versus Velociraptors script, then maybe they didn't want too many pterosaurs because it would get quite confusing. So yeah, I definitely understand why this wasn't in the final cut. In the script for Jurassic Park The Lost World, Robert Berkey claimed to have seen the remains of an Ankylosaurus herd while he was in the helicopter that transported him to use the sauna. And Berkey further claims that they have gone extinct once again. This was cut for budget purposes. It is unknown how the Ankylosaurus died, despite their armors and tail clubs. However, they appear in the sequel and alive this time. Apatosaurus. Apatosaurus appeared in the script for Jurassic Park The Lost World. However, it was scrapped from the final cut and were replaced with Momenchiosaurus. However, they are mentioned multiple times in the behind the scenes. So yeah, I can understand why this was cut once again. We do see Apatosaurus in Jurassic World, but Momenchiosaurus is just cooler anyway, in my opinion. Brachiosaurus was planned to appear in the movie, but it was cut and its model gets modified for Momenchiosaurus. It appears in the sequel though, but with a much different model. So it's not said where or when Brachiosaurus would have appeared, but I'm guessing in the game trail scene, and it was a Brachiosaurus instead of because the Apatosaurus said it was swapped for Momenchiosaur, but maybe they were going to go with Brachiosaur originally, and then they were like, no, let's do a new one, and they did Momenchiosaur, and changed the model for Mamenchisaurus. Next up, one of probably the most exciting ones, Carnotaurus. Carnotaurus was a dinosaur that Michael Crichton proposed for the Lost World, where they attack our protagonist alongside the Velociraptors and Pteranodons, sometimes argued to be its own genus, Geosterbagnia. It was scrapped, possibly being replaced by Tyrannosaurus rex. Fans had to wait a further 21 years for the Abelisaurid to appear. This is obviously referencing the infamous Lost World Carnos that could supposedly camouflage or go completely invisible in with the foliage. I can understand why this was cut, because it's kind of a bit of a confusing concept, but it would have been so cool to see camouflaging Carnotauruses in the Lost World. And yeah, the Carnotaurus doesn't even appear until Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, a whole 21 years later. Next up and finally is the Corythosaurus. Corythosaurus is one of the 3 hadrosaurs that was supposed to appear in the movie, being misspelled as Carnithosaurus. An individual was captured by InGen hunters, but it later changed to Parasaurolophus in the final product. A fact sheet of it did appear during the dinosaur chase scene, another concept art feature for Corythosaurus corpse. Corythosaurus finally made its debut in Jurassic Park 3. We know all of this was actually filmed and intended for the film, but swapped maybe in editing or production of the film, as we have a CGI Jurassic Park 2 Corythosaurus here. Like, it looks decent, this is what Parasaurolophus would have been. This is decent CGI for the time, and if we swap over to Para, we can see this is the exact same scene, and it was just swapped with Parasaurolophus in the end. I do prefer Parasaurolophus, it's such a classic dinosaur, but it would have been really cool to just see Corythosaurs alongside them as well, with the green coloration, because I really like this Corythosaurus design much more than the Jurassic Park 3 one. So we could have had Corythosaurus in Jurassic Park 2 and 3, which I think would have been really cool, because we get to see them with Paras in the second movie, and then also in the third movie, showing the herding dynamic between these two. Okay, that was everything cut and scrapped from Jurassic Park The Lost World that I could find. Undoubtedly there is some more that I didn't come across or couldn't find, but I did do quite a bit of research on this video, a lot more than I did on the last video. I had to go far and wide to find some of these deleted scenes. But yeah, that's all of the deleted scenes. Before the video ends, I'm just going to go over some differences between the novel, because last video I thought it was a bit confusing, as we had people might have got confused, the novel and the film, which one was cut, so everything I've just talked about was cut and deleted scenes. What I'm going to talk about now is stuff that was in the book written for The Lost World, that came out before The Lost World, and that was meant to happen in The Lost World, if that makes sense. One major difference is that there's no InGen operatives. It is Ian Malcolm and the team, and Lewis Dodgson, and I believe his right-hand man. I can't remember his name at the time. Oh, I have it, it's right on the top of my tongue. But yeah, it was Lewis Dodgson instead of Ronald Tembo and all of the other InGen people. There was a lot of species differentiation, and I don't know. There was Triceratops was in the movie. Maiasaura, I believe, was in the book, and it was meant to be in the movie. Carnotaurus was obviously in the book. That's where the infamous green Carno comes from. And I believe Eddie Carr, or maybe it's Nick Van Owen, is cut, not even in the novel, doesn't exist. Kelly's character is different, I believe. Sarah is in the novel, and it's mentioned that Sarah is the daughter of Jerry Harding. That's why Hammond has so many association with Sarah and put her on the island, because her father worked on Jurassic Park. And then obviously there's a lot of plot differences between the two, but that's basically all the major differences between the novel and the film. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Oh yeah, make sure to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see the Jurassic Park 3 that we never saw.